Hi, this is the voice of Heidie Calero with another economic capsule. Do you remember Gone with the Wind? Well, I think you can say the same thing now, gone with COVID-19. What is gone? It's the end of an era of economic growth, an end to the era of impulse buying in shopping centers and in other places. It's a new normal, and that's what I want to talk about here in Puerto Rico. Well, we are seeing now that the new normal coming into this decade. If the previous one was the lost decade, this one is going to be the new normal with a new decade after COVID-19. It's going to be lower economic growth. If Puerto Rico were to grow at 1% real growth, which nobody is really forecasting over the next few years, it's going to continue either negative or very close to zero, then Puerto Rico, it would take us like 22 years to return to the level of gross national product in 2006. So terrible prospects, but at any rate, lower population, not only in full terms, in absolute terms, but also in terms of the growth of that population. And that, for me, has been one of the higher risks that Puerto Rico faces. We have not seen a huge outward migration with COVID-19 because the U.S. has been in such disarray and continues now with the second outburst of COVID-19 in almost half of the states in the mainland. So that has not been solved. And most of that, not only lower population, but an aging population, a population that will need more health services, more essential services, and will need also transportation as well as being taken care of. Lack of credibility facing that Puerto Rico faces in front of the federal government, we have seen, and unfortunately Puerto Rico has contributed with that, with mismanagement of federal funds. Right now, the distribution of the disbursement of the unemployment benefits, it's a shame, it's a scandal. There are many people, like 500,000 people, who have submitted weekly unemployment claims, and they're still waiting for even checks going back as far as April. It's just a shame. There are going to be more federal monitors. Puerto Rico, as I said before, not credible, in front of FEMA, in front of the U.S. Housing Department, in front of the Office of Energy, in front of education. So even for the police, there are federal monitors. They want to make sure that their funds are used properly and are accounted for, and I cannot blame them. There's going to be a continuation of the Federal Oversight Management Board, also known as PROMESA Board, because if we do not balance our budgets, if we really do not cannot go back to the credit markets, if we do not grow this economy, it's going to be a tough chance. And besides, what is it to the board? I mean, they are receiving less than 60 million in a budget out of Puerto Rican taxpayers, so they're not in a hurry. There's going to be a lower level of essential services. There is a tension now between municipalities and the central government. Municipalities are saying, give us then the oversight of some of the municipal roads or some of the state roads, of some of the schools, that we can provide that service. But of course, they want their budget. And we have seen that our budgets, even though the governor had announced today that it is the largest budget that they've seen in the general fund. Those of you who saw our capsule last week know the truth about it, that it's not so. We are going to be seeing post-COVID, as we are seeing now, more poverty, and above all, this decoupling of education. Those who have great education in the private sector or in some select public schools, and a mass which will not be able to either learn on remote learning because their parents cannot help them, or they may have a computer but they don't have access to internet. It will require a new mindset. There are going to be changes in consumption patterns. We are already seeing that. Consumers are not flocking to shopping centers or to other retail stores. Of course, they continue with supermarkets because it is needed, food and drink. But clothing, all that which is called conspicuous, it's not really necessary. Well, there are going to be lower visits to those retailers and more shopping through Amazon. There's going to be more remote work, especially from some of the professional services. Many lawyers who had offices, well, many of these one or two shop places, they're going to say, well, I can do it remotely. I can do it from home. Why do I need to have an office? Why do I need to pay rent? So expect a reutilization or redesign of many of these office buildings. The electric monopoly, end of an era. The government has announced that the private sector, a company called Luma Energy, from January 2021, they will be in charge of the distribution and the management of the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, which so far has been the monopoly in the hands of the government. So expect, I want to remind you that this already happened twice with the Puerto Rico Aqueduct and Sewer Authority back in the late 80s. And you know what? The government had to rescue the authority back from these private sector operational things that the only thing they were doing was just getting money and not delivering on what they were supposed to do. There are going to be lower number of small and medium-sized enterprises. Some of them cannot survive COVID-19 unless there is a new package. And even so, what do you do even if you get a new package of assistance from the government if the demand is not there? Remember, COVID-19 gave us a double shock. The shock of supply with non-essential businesses being closed, and with a lockdown, and the demand shock when we all householders were told to stay at home and do not go out. Irrelevancy of the executive and the legislative branches. If we have the oversight board and if really what they're doing is just wasting money, how relevant are they? And secondly, as I said before, this challenging inequality. But I don't want to end without saying there are great opportunities ahead if only the mindset is there, and especially for the new generations to come. Telecommunications is a great sector, but you need really to know the platforms, not just for entertainment, but it's going to be used for work. It's going to be used for controlled learning, remote learning, for education. If we can work from here for some client that may be in China or in India, that's what they're doing right now. So we have to be open to these new mindsets of how we can capitalize on these new opportunities that are going to be there. Retailers, you have to rethink how your consumer is going to be more concerned about health, at least until there is a vaccine of COVID-19, so as to really entice these shoppers to buy from you, but maybe home delivery or maybe curbside. Many restaurants are doing this. They did it during COVID-19. And of course, it will take a while before all this is changed, but there are opportunities there always, but you need to think about them and capitalize on that new normalcy, which is what we have right now. Until the next capsule.